Of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I suspect that most of you who are familiar with more than one language know that nuances that are carried by a word in one language are often lost in translation. And many of you have probably heard me take issue with English renderings of the Greek and sometimes Hebrew originals of our biblical texts. So even though we've been blessed with a multitude of available English translations, I was particularly dismayed when, in reading our selection from Matthew, I found that very few of the English translations available to me did a good job on the 25th verse of chapter 5. Given a choice of translation options, it seems to me that most often a weaker, less challenging choice was made. What we heard this morning, starting at verse 23, was, "When you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift." And then verse 25. "Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are on the way to court with him, or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison." Come to terms quickly with your accuser. There's a lot behind the scenes context here, having to do with how one worked within the temple sacrificial system, but I'm particularly concerned with the phrase, "come to terms." The Greek, for the first few words of verse 25, directly translated, should read, I believe, "Become friends with your legal opponent quickly." Become friends, as opposed to come to terms. In terms of other translations, the King James Version reads, "Agree with thine adversary quickly." The New Jerusalem Bible says, "Come to terms with your opponent in good time." The Message's paraphrase is little better, "Make the first move, make things right with him." Only the Common English Bible caught what I believe is critical here. It reads, "Be sure to make friends quickly with your opponents." Why am I so focused on these differences in translation? Well, as I see it, the difference between come to terms and become friends is the difference between forging a truce and restoring a friendship. At root, it is a question about community formation. Do we choose merely to get along, or do we choose to foster deeper relationships? Matthew presented Jesus' teaching as the basis for creating a new kind of community, as did Paul, as we saw last week, and suggested again in what we heard from 1 Corinthians this morning. In times of turmoil and upheaval, such as the followers of Jesus were experiencing, what was a solution to holding like-minded people together? In Matthew's telling of the sermon, Jesus asked his followers to choose a different kind of righteousness from that found in the wider society. He wanted them to go beyond a simple adherence to the rules. He urged his followers to be salt of the earth and light to the world. That is, to live not just for their own well-being, but for that of others. And in our reading this morning, it's clear that Jesus wanted not just right action, but behavior grounded in right intention. Whether the underlying problems were a potential lawsuit, marital discord or infidelity or making promises. Jesus wanted his followers to choose what was life-giving. He argued, in effect, that the heart of the matter was really a matter of the heart. Turmoil and upheaval demanding the reinvention of societies was part of the Jewish experience from the very beginning. After leaving Egypt, the Israelites needed markers that would set them apart as God's chosen. Those distinctive features included the tradition of circumcision, the Jerusalem temple, and a complex series of laws governing everything from diet to clothing to letting land lie fallow, allowing even the earth to experience its own Sabbath. Those structures endured until the 6th century BC, when all that was familiar and stable was destroyed by the Babylonians. In Babylon, society had to be restructured again. Without the temple and its requirements, surface rituals morphed into a different life, centered around heart-focused practices of Sabbath-keeping, prayer, and study. 70 years later, when the exiles were allowed to return, things had to be redesigned again, mashing together pre-exilic traditions with those modifications that were necessarily made in Babylon. And then the horrific events of 70 AD, the destruction of Jerusalem and the Second Temple, those made necessary new choices. What did it mean to be God's people? The Christian option was one such choice. But the creation and recreation of societies has not just been an Israelite or Jewish challenge, it has been a feature of American history as well, one of which we'll be reminded of this weekend. President's Day, which will mark tomorrow, ties together Abraham Lincoln's birthday, last Wednesday, and George Washington's birthday, next weekend. Both Washington and Lincoln were called to preside over societies in transition and turmoil. Imagine first the turmoil and agonizing choices to be made involved in the years leading up to, including, and immediately following the Revolutionary War. Ties to families in England sundered, sources of income lost, the melding of numerous nationalities and traditions found in all of the colonies, social upheaval, indeed. And somehow, Washington, along with others, was able to keep things together, working with other colonial leaders to fashion the documents that would define us as a people. What materials, what values ought to be chosen upon which to base the American experiment? In the experience of our founders, nations and religions were intertwined. So one of the distinctive choices made in our new democracy was to establish a country without religion at its base. An incredibly revolutionary idea in its day. But what would be the code that would guide our legal system? Certainly the founders based the Constitution on traditions gleaned from the Jewish and Christian texts, but our government was not grounded in any kind of divine connection. Rather, we were to be governed rationally by the people who would bring their various commitments, religious or not, to bear. It has been a messy system, to be sure, and it has presented us from the beginning with difficult choices. One such difficult choice confronted us in the middle decades of the 19th century, as we were torn apart by the issues of states' rights and slavery. What would guide us as we moved into our second century? Which parts of the American experiment needed to be left behind? What parts needed to be changed? What needed to be retained? And into that challenging societal turmoil emerged Abraham Lincoln, arguably the most capable president we've seen. He clearly sensed the seriousness of the situation facing him, the necessity of seeking ways to hold the Republic together. And while it didn't succeed in its intent, the closing lines of his first inaugural address outlined what he believed to be necessary. I am loath to close. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may be strained, it must not break our bonds of affection, the mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. The better angels of our nature, of course, was a plea to set aside the states and individuals' various self-interests or clan loyalties, economic, political, whatever, in favor of choosing a larger concept of the good, a good that diverse peoples had together chosen some decades earlier in order to form a more perfect union. Of course, today we find ourselves in another time of turmoil, one with its roots in the upheavals of the 1960s, exacerbated by the events of 9/11 and complicated by the technological revolution in social media. Questions swirl around what ties the American people together. Those questions inevitably become questions of religion. Were we founded as a Christian nation? Who ought to craft our vision forward? What of our constitutional guarantees of religious liberty? Whose definitions or standards of religiosity do we choose to follow? And here, I want to return to verse 25 of chapter 5 of Matthew's Gospel. No, I'm not going to wade into the church-state battle and argue that we should base our national vision on biblical teachings. But I do think that the ideas behind Matthew's and Paul's efforts at community formation do have something to teach us, not only as a nation, but as the body of Christ. What is central to the Sermon on the Mount and the Corinthian letters, as I pointed out last week, are the ideas that, one, Christian community is based on love, choosing life for others. Second, Christians are thus called to focus on the intent behind behavior, where true fidelity to the love commandment is found. And third, that style of living, that nature of Christian community is meant to be a witness to the world of how God wishes all human societies to function. What we see in the weak translations of Matthew 5:25 is an overall concession to a dumbing down of our morality, to living up only to the letter of the law. Coming to terms with those, especially those within the Christian community, those to whom Matthew was directed, with whom we have disagreements, demands relatively little. As Jesus might say, even the Gentiles can do that. Restoring, remaking the bonds of friendship, however, is the hard work Jesus demands of us. That is the work of community making to which we are called. We are called as a Christian community to do more than what is simply easy as we chart our way forward. We are called to remember that each and every one of us, with our memories, our pains, and our dreams, is equally loved and valued by God. We are called to choose to go beyond clan loyalties, as Paul demanded, to allow the better angels of our nature guide us in this work. And when others see the choices we make, the values by which we live in tumultuous, turmoil-ridden times, and the difference that makes in our lives, they may choose to enter into the hard but joy-filled work with us. Let's find solutions more significant than simply coming to terms. Let us, as Jesus suggested, choose, even in hard times,